Yields back the balance of his time. The gentlelady from Maine is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you to my colleague from the other side of the aisle for his thoughts on this. And I think that he is getting ready to retire from Congress. And I just want to say I've enjoyed the opportunity to serve with you in the Rules Committee and appreciate the thoughts that you bring to the issues that we have to deal with. With all due respect, I want to disagree with you on one particular point, as I did earlier today in the Rules Committee. And without questioning anything that you had to say today, I will just say that my experience on the issue of don't ask, don't tell, whether it is in my position as sitting on the Armed Services Committee or with some of my colleagues on the Rules Committee who have questioned this particular bill as the vehicle, is that sometimes I feel like people run out of substantive arguments and they go back to the process. And they say, well, there's something flawed about this process. And over the 2 years that I've been here, as we've been discussing a piece of law that no longer works, that shouldn't be in law, that tells people who are gay or lesbian that they can no longer serve in the military, for the past 2 years I've heard over and over again, well, this is a flawed process. So as a member of the Armed Services Committee, even though my good colleague Representative Davis held subcommittee hearings on this issue and there have been much discussion of it, people said, well, we need to have a study. So we got a study. It's a big, thick study. It's a wonderfully well done study. And when I had the opportunity just recently to sit in the Armed Services Committee and listen to the briefing by the military on the work they had done in this study, I have to say I was very impressed. Something like 150,000 people participated in this study. Now, as my colleagues know, when you're a member of Congress or a challenger running, you're lucky to have a poll of 400 people to get their opinion. Maybe sometimes the poll has 1,200 people. And we take that as public opinion. But to ask 150,000 people associated with the military, so what do you think, is quite a piece of work. And I think it was extremely well done. And what we were told that day in that briefing was overwhelmingly, our military said, you know, this is just fine. Many of them said, I already know. I serve alongside someone who is a gay or lesbian member of the armed forces, and it doesn't bother us at all. It isn't interfering with unit cohesion or ability to fight. People said overwhelmingly, what is taking so long to change this particular provision in law? So I look at this and I say, whether it's the vehicle that we have before us today, in some of the final days of this particular Congress, today when I think we have to act with urgency here in this House, after this House has already passed this provision in the Armed Services, in the General Authorization Bill, we've already passed this once, we've already shown that we're in favor of this here. Now it's back again as a standalone to make it easier for people to deal with this as an individual issue. To go back to say, well, it's all about the process, we haven't had enough process, I think shows great disrespect to those members of our armed forces and their leaders who have said to us, change this, move on, get it done, to those 13,000 plus soldiers who have already been told they can no longer serve in the military, and we've lost the ability to use their expertise and their training and their patriotism in this country, to say that there isn't urgency today and that we should somehow allow a process argument to slow us down doesn't make any sense. You know, I come from the state of Maine, very proudly come from the state of Maine, and something like 17% of our 1.3 million residents in Maine are either active duty personnel or veterans who have served this country. And I go home and hear the people in my district, whether I'm talking to a veterans group or someone who's just on their way to serve in Afghanistan or coming back or sadly sometimes at a military funeral, and people do not say to me, prohibit gay and lesbian people from serving in the military. People say to me in my home district, in a state that is very dedicated to serving the military, they say, when are you going to end this process of discrimination? And that is why we are here today. We are here to move forward on the rule to make sure that for once and for all, this House of Representatives again says, let's repeal, don't ask, don't tell. Let's remember that this is a threat to our national security, that is disrespectful of all of our soldiers, that there will be no serious ramifications of this. And in fact, our military is very well prepared and has good plans to move forward on this transition. Let's remember that this is the patriotic vote to cast. This is the vote for national security. This is the vote for respecting the investment we have made in these soldiers. This is the vote for increasing recruitment in our military and saying to even more members who currently are unsure, to saying to more people who are unsure about whether or not they should join the military because they worry that they will possibly be outed. It's a measure to say we welcome you. Our armed services will be only stronger when we repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes on the previous question and on the rule, and I yield back the balance of my time and move the previous question on the resolution.
Without objection, the previous